economy was super, super strong. Right? It was briefly the biggest economy in the world, right? But then the collapse happened. The banks, first of all, collapsed. And a lot of companies suddenly found themselves, in the beginning, in the 60s, 70s especially, in the 80s, the economy was so strong and people had so much money, a lot of companies thought, we don't have to change. We're only doing business with our countrymen, right? We're doing business with people who speak Japanese. We don't have to market our products in other languages, in Korean, in Chinese, or in English, right? We don't have to market our products in any other way. But then the collapse happens, right? And a lot of people lose their jobs. A lot of people who had invested in stocks or in government bonds and things like that, they see the value of their investments drop 30, 40, 50, 60%, right? It was really, really a difficult time. So a lot of companies who have vision, right, who started thinking outside the box. Why is Uniqlo so popular? Why is Uniqlo doing so well? Because their CEO, the founder of Uniqlo, Talashianai, basically his vision is that I want Uniqlo to be the biggest clothing retailer in the world, right? That's what he wants. And the reason why, what he did is he forced everyone in the company to start learning English. Why? Because, whether we like it or not, English is the language of the globe, right? Like, if you're a Korean company, if you're a Japanese company, if you're a Bangladeshi company, right? If you want to do business globally, you have to have people who can speak in English, right? Who can go to other countries and say that we want to sell our products here. What's it going to take? What do I need to do to sell my products here, right? He realized that if you want to be the world's supplier of clothing, you have to speak the many languages spoken in the world. That's really, really important, right? So that's an example of thinking outside the box, right? And it shows that it can work. If you're willing to make bold decisions, it can work for you. Now they have to be bold decisions, which are calculated. This is also, you also have to, this is like, it's a bold decision for me, right, to say that I want to try sumo wrestling, right? But it's not calculated. Because I'm not thinking about the fact that I'm 5'8". I'm going to get literally squashed, right, by those guys. It's not for a boxer, right, who has one loss, to just suddenly go to like a really popular trainer because he thinks that this trainer is really famous and I think he can help me, without thinking about the fact that I have to look at our personalities, right? Does he understand me? Does he have the time for me, right? Do you think a famous trainer is really busy or does he have a lot of spare time? Someone who's really famous, right? Think of a famous teacher or a famous trainer, right? Do you think they're really busy or do you think they have a lot of spare time? Think about it. What's the logical answer? Minsu?
Logical answer is very busy.
Right, exactly, right? Because everybody wants to learn from them, right? Everybody wants to learn from them. So imagine if you're a boxer, right? You leave your old trainer and you go to this really famous gym. What if the guy has like 10 minutes a day for you? Do you think he can train you to be a better fighter? In 10 minutes per day? It depends, right? But it's likely that not, right? Because you're at that point, just like Yahoo has to make major changes, right? Anytime you have to make major changes, right, it takes a lot of time. Because maybe for many years you've been training one way, right? You've been perfecting one type of techniques. Now you have to learn an entirely new set of skills, right? So that takes time. And then, for some people it might work. But you have to make that calculation. You have to think, how much time does he have for me? And in that time, do I think that I can learn what I need to learn from him, right? So you have to make bold decisions, but you also have to take the time to think about those decisions. That's really, really important, right? So, so those are just some of the things. I thought this was a really interesting article because Yahoo, I use Yahoo all the time for my news, right? It's always my homepage, like on my home computer, on my work computer. And it's a very strong website. I think for news it's great, especially for finance news. It's amazing, right? Yahoo Finance is actually
more popular than
Google. Yeah, I mean Yahoo Finance. Yeah, it's more popular actually because it's more accurate in many ways.
more section.
I think it's better organized, right? The Yahoo Finance particularly is very, it's very well organized, and there's a lot of good details in there. Google Finance isn't exactly, for some reason people prefer Yahoo to a Yahoo for Finance, right? So there's some things that they do really, really well, right? So maybe they even need to look at the parts of their company that is doing really well, like Yahoo Finance, right? Or just their news, their entertainment news, right? They need to look at those parts of the company and tell themselves, what can we do to be like them? How can everyone be successful like them? Maybe that's the first step for them, right?
Yeah, in Japan, like Yahoo Japan is the biggest searching site.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Japan they are profitable. Well,
Yeah, and so Yahoo
Yeah.
globally needs
Yeah.
to look at places like Japan.
yeah.
Is
So-
Yahoo big in Korea as well?
Actually, it's big, but I think other website. I think other websites is more
Okay.
popular than
Gotcha.
like Naver or Now.
Okay, gotcha. But like for instance, like that's a perfect example, right? There's certain areas where Yahoo is making a lot of money, right? They're doing really, really well, right? The global Yahoo in Europe and in America, they need to look at these places and they need to try to understand why. What are they doing that we can be doing, right? Because they're doing something right. If they're making a lot of money, if they are really popular, like even as popular as Yahoo, Yahoo in Korea is probably more popular than Yahoo is in USA. USA people just use Google all the time, right?
But if they were number one, in the past,
Yeah,
Yahoo.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
They were. I want to say maybe even 10 years ago, I think they were number one. But now it's just like Google has become this monster, right?
I think that's because like the board member isn't.
Yeah, I think they should have seen 10 years ago, they should have, the types of discussions they're having now, right? And the way that they're thinking now, they should have started thinking 10 years ago. Because I think part of being a great company, right, is always having an eye on your competition and seeing what new company is there that's really popular, right? Microsoft, right? They owned 99% of the market at one point. Now they own like 80% of the market. How do you let like 20% of your market share just disappear? Because they didn't think Apple was going to be able to be this popular, right? Apple just used to make computers before, and they made a really, really bold decision to look at like flash technology. Like flash drives, right? That you use to put your files on your computer, USB drives, right? The little USB drives, right? That's what an iPod is. An iPod is basically a USB drive that's a music player. It's their vision that says, we can turn this into something really cool. Before, do you remember, like I used to walk around with a CD player, and I used to always have a backpack with all my CDs in my backpack. Because I listened to, like the iPod is perfect for people like me who are always changing music. I would be walking to class and I'd be like taking my Walkman out, taking a CD out, and like putting another one in. I would stop in the middle of going to class. This is like 2003, I think, when I was in college, right? I would just like take like a CD out, put it in, right? And they identified that. So Yahoo has to identify things that people need in their life, right? The most important key, if you're going to be, especially for a new company, right? You have to look at something that people need that doesn't exist right now. Or even if it exists, the people who are doing it really badly.
At the moment, it doesn't exist like MP3 or 2000.
At that time, well, it did exist. There were, I think, one or two companies that had very basic, like big, like fat MP3 players, basically, right? But they said, okay, we have to find out a way to make this really slim so that it just fits in your pocket. Right? That was the problem. It was like, remember when cell phones first came out in the 1980s? What was it, 1970s or 1980s? Remember they were like bricks, right? They were like this fat. Remember like when you watch old movies from like the early 80s, they were like, they bring the phone out. Remember they had car phones? Remember they had phones in your car?
Antenna.
Yeah, CB, the CB radio. Remember people used to walk around with CB radios? And they'd be talking, I mean, this is stuff our parents used to do, right? This is like back in the 70s, right? In the 80s you had these big brick phones and stuff. I mean, it's so funny when you watch these old movies, like movies that were made 30 years ago, and you see guys with the cops on their car phones. Okay, we're coming right now. Like, it's just hilarious, isn't it? But yeah, this is the way it was. You know, it's all about these companies. They identified something that people needed, and they were intelligent enough to meet that need, right? That need that people have. That I just want something slim that's going to fit in my pocket, right? They said that, you know, we will find a way to make an MP3 player that's thin like this, right? Cool. Okay, so that's the first section done. Give me a second. Let's just see where we're at right now. Let's take. We started at 7:45, so. Okay.
5 minutes break.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break. I'll figure something out. So we're just going to take a 5-minute break.